Okay.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Saluting to Ramana, who shines as the self in all beings, we begin today's satsang with a prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh. This will be followed by the chanting of the Muktakatrayam by Sri Nandakumarji.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमां रमणाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहार्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana to everyone.
एकम् अक्षरं हृदि निरन्तरं भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो त्वम् देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तभावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिय दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम् सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। नमो रमण।
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with the chanting of a few verses from Upadesha Saram. वायुरोदनालीनते लीयते मन जालपक्षिवद्रोदसादनम् चित्तवायवश्चित्क्रियायुताः शाकयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलक लयविनाशने उभयरोदने लयगतं पुनर्भवति नोऽमृतम् प्राणबन्धनाल्लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तनान्नाशमेत्यद नष्टमानसो उत्कृष्टयोगिन कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्तितिं यत दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मन चित्वदर्शनं तत्त्वदर्शनं मानसं तु किं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्ग आर्जवात् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मन अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वत ऐपतत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनाशभाजहमहं तय स्फुरति हृत्स्वयं परमपूर्णस. Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with a few offerings of Ramananjali music. We begin the offering by a song by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh Srinivasan. This will be followed by one more Ramananjali offering by Savitri Krishnan and Jai Sri Ram Krishnan, and also one more song by Revathi Shankar.
Namo Ramana to all. We have a song composed by Sri Sadhu Om Swami. Taraka Nama Ramana Namo Namo Sharanam Sharanam Sadguru Nata Taraka Nama Ramana Namo Namo Sharanam Sharanam Sadguru Nata Sakalarum Paniyum Pada Namo Namo Bhagavane Ramana Namo Namo Taraka Nama Ramana Namo Namo Charanam Charanam Sadguru Parula Parulaum Jyoti Namo Namo Paramashanta Sukhavasa Namo Namo Parulaum Paranjyoti Namo Namo Paramashanta Sukhavasa Namo Namo Vanamona Tavaraja Namo Namo Bhagavane Ramana Namo Namo Taraka Nama Ramana Namo Namo Sharanam Sharanam Sadguru Nata Aranam Paravum Pada Namo Namo Akhilam Mutum Marudbodha Namo Namo ஆரணம் பரவும் பாதானமோ நமோ அகிலமூட்டும் அருட்போதானமோ நமோ அன்னை சக்தி சிவநாதா நமோ நமோ அருணேஷா ரமணா நமோ நமோ அன்னை சக்தி சிவநாதா நமோ நமோ அருணேஷா ரமணா நமோ நமோ தாரக நாமா ரமணா நமோ நமோ சரணம் சரணம் சத்குருநாதா வீர வீர ஜெய தேவா நமோ நமோ தேசுலாவும் சிவ வேடா நமோ நமோ வீர வீர ஜெய தேவா நமோ நமோ தேசுலாவும் சிவ வேடா நமோ நமோ தீன பக்த பரபாலா நமோ நமோ ஜகதீஷா ரமணா நமோ நமோ தீன பக்த பரிபாலா நமோ நமோ ஜகதீஷா ரமணா நமோ நமோ தாரக நாமா ரமணா நமோ நமோ சரணம் சரணம் சத்குருநாதா பகவானே ரமணா நமோ நமோ அருணேஷா ரமணா நமோ நமோ ஜகதீஷா ரமணா நமோ நமோ ஜகதீஷா ரமணா நமோ 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 ரமಣ.
ಹೇಗೆ ಸಹಿಸಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಮಗಳು ನೋಯುವ ಪರಿಯನು, ಹೇಗೆ ಸಹಿಸಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಮಗಳು ನೋಯುವ ಪರಿಯನು. ರಮಣನೆ ಹೊಡೆಯಿದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನೇ ನೀಡಬೇಕೌಷಧಿಯನು, ಹೇಗೆ ಸಹಿಸಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಮಗಳು ನೋಯುವ ಪರಿಯನು. ರಮಣನೆ ಹೊಣೆಯಿದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನೇ ನೀಡಬೇಕೌಷಧಿಯನು. ಮಂದಿ ತಿಳಿ ಹೇಳಿದರು ಹಿಂದೆ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನು ರಮಣನೆನ್ನುವುದ ನನ್ನ ಕುವರಿಯ ಬಳಿಯಲಿ. ಮಂದಿ ತಿಳಿ ಹೇಳಿದರು ಹಿಂದೆ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನು ರಮಣನೆನ್ನುವುದ ನನ್ನ ಕುವರಿಯ ಬಳಿಯಲಿ. ಬೆದರಿ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಜೋಕೆ ಮಗುವೆ, ಬೆದರಿ ಹೇಳಿದೆ ಜೋಕೆ ಮಗುವೆ, ಇರಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರ ನಿನ್ನ ಮನದಲ್ಲಿ ತುಳಿಯದಿರುವ ಕಡೆಯಲಿ, ತುಳಿಯದಿರುವ ಕಡೆಯಲಿ. ಹೇಗೆ ಸಹಿಸಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಮಗಳು ನೋಯುವ ಪರಿಯನು. ರಮಣನೆ ಹೊಣೆಯಿದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನೇ ನೀಡಬೇಕೌಷಧಿಯನು. ಮುಸಿಯ ಭಯ ಎಂದೆಣಿಸಿ ಬಾಲಕಿ ಮನದಿ ತಳೆದಳು ರಮಣ ಬಿಂಬವ. ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಮರುಳೇ ನವಿಯಿತು. ಮುಸಿಯ ಭಯ ಎಂದೆಣಿಸಿ ಬಾಲಕಿ ಮನದಿ ತಳೆದಳು ರಮಣ ಬಿಂಬವ. ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಮರುಳೇ ನವಿಯಿತು. ಲೋಕವೇ ಕೈ ತಟ್ಟಿ ನಗುವುದು, ಲೋಕವೇ ಕೈ ತಟ್ಟಿ ನಗುವುದು, ಮರುಳ ಕಳೆಯುವ ಔಷಧಿಯು ಸಹ ಅವನ ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಆಯಿತು, ಅವನ ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಆಯಿತು. ಹೇಗೆ ಸಹಿಸಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಮಗಳು ನೋಯುವ ಪರಿಯನು. ರಮಣನೆ ಹೊಣೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನೇ ನೀಡಬೇಕು ಔಷಧಿಯನು. ನೋಡು ರಮಣನೆ ಅವಳ ಪರಿಯ ನಿನ್ನ ವಿರಹದಿ ಬೆಂದ ಬಗೆಯ. ಬಾರದೆ ದಯೆಯವಳಲಿ ನೋಡು ರಮಣನೆ ಅವಳ ಪರಿಯ ನಿನ್ನ ವಿರಹದಿ ಬೆಂದ ಬಗೆಯ. ಬಾರದೆ ದಯೆಯವಳಲಿ ಹಿಂದೆ ಸವಿ ಮಧು ಅವಳ ಪ್ರೇಮವು. ಹಿಂದೆ ಸವಿ ಮಧು ಅವಳ ಪ್ರೇಮವು. ಇಂದು ಕಹಿಗೆ ಮುಂದೆಯೂ ಮಗು ನಬಿಯಬೇಕೆ ವ್ಯಥೆಯಲಿ. ನಬಿಯಬೇಕೆ ವ್ಯಥೆಯಲಿ. ಹೇಗೆ ಸಹಿಸಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಮಗಳು ನೋಯುವ ಪರಿಯನು. ಹೇಗೆ ಸಹಿಸಲಿ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಮಗಳು ನೋಯುವ ಪರಿಯನು. ರಮಣನೆ ಹೊಣೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನೇ ನೀಡಬೇಕು ಔಷಧಿಯನು. ನೀಡಬೇಕು ಔಷಧಿಯನು. ನೀಡಬೇಕು ಔಷಧಿಯನು. ಓಂ ನಮೋ ಭಗವತೆ ಶ್ರೀರಮಣ.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We are so blessed to have Bhagavan in our lives. He has given us the direct path to attain self-knowledge. He has made us realize that this world is just a dream. And he has torn apart the screen of ignorance, the screen of Maya, and given us the path to tell us. He has told us that this body is not you. And get back to the self, which is you, which is your true nature. And I, who don't know anything, I was so ignorant, and Bhagavan has called me to himself, and he has taught me how to look at myself and attain that peaceful self. When I don't have the strength to do self-inquiry, Bhagavan's words, Bhagavan's Vani comes to my refuge, and it gives me the strength, and that gives the life to continue the self-inquiry and attain the self. This happens to each devotee, and this has been described by Sadhom Swami in this song, wonderfully. Kannada translation by R.N. Jayagopal. The music is by B.S. Narasimhan. ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ, ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ, ತಂದೆ ರಮಣ ಮನ ಬೆಳಗಿಸಿದ, ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ. ಈ ಜಗವೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಯೆಯ ಕನಸು, ಅಜ್ಞಾನದ ತೆರೆ ನೀ ಸರಿಸೋ. ಈ ಜಗವೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಯೆಯ ಕನಸು, ಅಜ್ಞಾನದ ತೆರೆ ನೀ ಸರಿಸೋ. ನಾನು ಎಂಬುದು ದೇಹವದಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಎಂಬುದು ದೇಹವದಲ್ಲ, ಸಮಾಧಿ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಯೆಡೆ ಮನಹರಿಸು. ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ, ತಂದೆ ರಮಣ ಮನ ಬೆಳಗಿಸಿದ, ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ಏನೂ ಅರಿಯದ ಈ ಸೇವಕನ ತನ್ನೆಡೆ ಕರೆಯಿಸಿ ಅವನೊಲಿದ ಏನೂ ಅರಿಯದ ಈ ಸೇವಕನ ತನ್ನೆಡೆ ಕರೆಯಿಸಿ ಅವನೊಲಿದ ಮನದ ಕಂಗಳು ಕಾಣಲು ಅವನು ಶಾಂತಿಯ ಸುಧೆಯನ್ನು ಅವ ತೋರಿದ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ತಂದೆ ರಮಣ ಮನ ಬೆಳಗಿಸಿದ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ದೇಹದಿಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕ ಮಾಡಲು ಶಕ್ತಿಯು ಸಾಲದೆ ದಣಿದಿರಲು ದೇಹದಿಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಪ್ರತ್ಯೇಕ ಮಾಡಲು ಶಕ್ತಿಯು ಸಾಲದೆ ದಣಿದಿರಲು ರಮಣರ ವಾಣಿಯು ನೀಡಿತು ಚೇತನ ರಮಣರ ವಾಣಿಯು ನೀಡಿತು ಚೇತನ ಹರಿಯಿತು ನೂತನ ಸಂಜೀವನ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ತಂದೆ ರಮಣ ಮನ ಬೆಳಗಿಸಿದ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ತಂದೆ ರಮಣ ಮನ ಬೆಳಗಿಸಿದ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ ವರ ಕರುಣಿಸಿದ. ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.
Namo Ramana. Srimati V. Radha sang a song written by Sadhu Om Swami, which told us the Nama of Ramana is Tharaka. It makes us cross the ocean of sorrows. And the next song, a Kannada translation of Muruganar Swami's Lament of a Mother of a Maiden, was sung by Savitri Krishnan and Jai Sri Ram Krishnan, where Muruganar Swami says that the medicine for the craziness that my maiden, my daughter has for you, Ramana, is more and more of that same craziness. And when we get crazy in that love of divine, the self, then we are blessed with numerous gifts. And the most precious among them is to attain our own true nature through self-inquiry. We move on to the next section, where we have the reading and sharing by Sri Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. In this our book reading segment of the Satsang, we continue our gleanings from the work Forever is in the Now, the timeless message of Sri Ramana Maharshi, edited and compiled by our founder president Sri A.R. Natarajanji. We have gone through the first segment on Bhagavan's teachings, and we are reading the personal accounts now, and that is under the title Remembering Ramana Maharshi. Last week we had read the accounts, and the last account we had read was of Guntur Lakshmi Kantam, who narrated how his Guru Ganapati Muni's assurance came true even after he passed on by Bhagavan's immense grace. Today we read the account of Pascaline Mallet, Knowing Eternity is the title. There is a very brief introduction to the author, to the contributor. It goes like this. Mallet Pascaline, author of the book Turn Eastward, which had been appreciated by Ramana. We can see an account of that in talk number 494, where Bhagavan says, turn eastward actually could be seen as turn towards the source of the light of consciousness. We read the account of Pascaline Mallet entitled Knowing Eternity. Suddenly, we turned off the main road and stopped under a giant mango tree at the entrance to the ashram. A few steps brought us in front of 2 or 3 low buildings hidden behind the trees. We were not expected, but all who come are welcome, whoever they may be. And after a few words of explanation, we were led to the hall where Sri Ramana Maharshi is always to be found. 2 lamps suspended from the ceiling shed their light on the assembled Indians sitting cross-legged on the tiled floor. At one end of the room and immediately facing the door was a low couch or wooden bed where a silent, motionless figure was reclining, lost in deep meditation, oblivious, it would seem, of everybody and everything. We slipped in quietly. After having saluted in Indian fashion and seated ourselves on the ground amongst the crowd, I took in slowly the strange, unforgettable scene, my whole attention fixed on that central figure whose calm majesty, serene strength, and perfect poise seemed to fill the whole place with unutterable peace. To look into his eyes, shining like stars, was perhaps for the first time to know the meaning of eternity and to be caught up into a bliss that passed understanding. Who was this great one? On what rung of the ladder of human or superhuman evolution did he stand? Such questions have but little value. When the sun shines, does one need to know why and how it shines? Will the thirsty man hesitate to drink the cool water which is offered to him till he be told whence it comes? Stilling the turbulent mind, ever seeking intellectual explanation, I opened my heart to the spiritual life which radiated so intensely in this silence. A few Brahmins now entered, wearing freshly washed dhotis, the sacred thread of their caste visible on their bare chests and on the foreheads of the 3 white horizontal stripes indicating the worshippers of Shiva. They prostrated themselves before the Maharishi and took their seats behind his couch. First one, then the others intoned the sacred mantrams, chanting in Sanskrit the verses of the ancient Vedas. At the end, all stood for the final praise, and I had the impression of being, as it were, surrounded by a sea of fiery power, welded all present into a great flame rising heavenwards. Then once more all prostrated themselves and resumed their places. Not once did the silent figure turn or move or show any sign of interest in the proceedings. It was as if he had been living in a sphere beyond the limitations of time and space. The trend of my thoughts was broken by the metallic sound of a gong, after which people began to leave the hall. Maharishi, having come out of Samadhi, spoke for the first time and exchanged a few words in Tamil with some of the Swamis. Arrangements for our stay were immediately made, and Mr. Paul Brunton, author of A Search in Secret India, who was living in the town, very kindly offered us his hospitality, which we gratefully accepted. We were asked to come into supper and were taught the rudiments of good behavior according to Indian customs. Before entering the dining hall, shoes have to be taken off and hands and feet washed under running water. The guests then sit down cross-legged on the floor all around a long empty room before a freshly cut banana leaf. Brahmins bearing rice dal, vegetables, plantains, curds, etc., deposit on these natural plates the required amount. The etiquette demands that the left hand shall touch nothing, the right alone being used to mix and carry the food to the mouth. All waited till Maharishi had begun before starting their own meal. We found ourselves, besides a few Europeans, our host, Paul Brunton, a Pole, and a young Dutchman recently arrived. Our noble but clumsy efforts at eating properly created some amusement, and the Maharishi, whom we found possessed a strong sense of humor, smiled kindly at us. Supper passed practically in silence and was over in barely 10 minutes. As soon as it ended, the leaves were taken outside and disposed of in the garden, after which the washing of hands, mouth was duly performed. After our journey and our many experiences, we felt glad to follow our kind host back into town and retire early to rest. Preparations were in full swing for the great annual festival of Maharishi's birthday. It is an occasion for thousands of people from all over the country to get his darshan and receive his blessing, and all who come find food and shelter. A wide flat space in front of the ashram was being made into a vast hall of by means of a simple wooden trellis work, the walls consisting of straw mats which made a very effective protection against the hot sun. As we entered, Maharshi was busy writing and reading letters and newspapers. He seemed to take a keen interest in everything that happened in the world. But somehow, I had the feeling that all the while he was living in a state where time and space do not exist, neither relative knowledge nor ignorance above the pairs of opposites in the region of the absolute at the very heart of the universe. This can hardly be described, much less proved, and only dimly sensed, but even so constituted a never to be forgotten experience. His utter impersonality and supreme detachment did not in the very least exclude all embracing compassion, sympathy, and understanding of the many problems and difficulties which were continually being submitted to him by all the very sorrow-stricken people who came to him in the hope of finding comfort and help. Rich and poor, men, women, and children, Brahmins or outcasts, he looked upon all alike. There are many beautiful and touching stories testifying to his love and compassion to our younger brothers, the ones belonging to the animal kingdom to which we also belong. In his presence, wild animals forget to fight or kill each other and do no harm to man. A cobra used to come into the hall without ever attacking anyone and even stayed peacefully beside its most bitter enemy, a peacock, another inmate of the ashram. Maharishi forbids ill treatment or killing of any living thing, and all unconsciously feel that here they are perfectly safe. The little black striped squirrels run in and out. Birds build their nests under the rafters, and monkeys peep in occasionally to steal some food. One day, the people were complaining to Maharishi about these last visitors, the monkeys, and declared that soon, if they were not frightened away, there would be so many that nobody would be able to remain in the ashram. Maharishi then remarked in his usual humor that in that case, monkeys would have him all to themselves. Maharishi's favorite cow, Lakshmi, is a most beautiful creature with delicate horns and almond-shaped eyes. The love she showed for her master was very touching. As we were sitting in the ashram, we heard noise outside. And to our amazements, up the steps came Lakshmi. As if it was the most natural thing in the world for a cow to enter a room, she went straight up to the Maharishi's couch. He at once greeted her most affectionately and ordered that she should be given some plantains to eat. Lakshmi, then quite satisfied, turned around and began to make her way through the crowd, heedless of the people seated on the floor. She was eventually guided out amid general laughter. She it is who gives Maharishi a calf each year on his very birthday. Let science offer explanation if it can. When an animal inmate of the ashram is about to die, Maharishi would attend to it in the same manner as he does to a human being, sitting beside it to the end with a hand on its head. He sees the same life in all. Although he recognizes differences in outer forms, his vision of equality is based on the realization of the one behind the many. Twice a day, in the morning and evening before sunset, he goes out for a short walk himself up the sacred mountain of Arunachala, which rises immediately behind the ashram, bearing his only possessions, a stick, a black coconut pot. His tall, well-proportioned figure is seen climbing slowly up the steep rocky path like some mountain god returning to his heavenly abode. A striking characteristic of the ashram consists in all the offerings brought to the Maharishi by various devotees and visitors being immediately shared by all present. Thus, when plantains, oranges, fried pastry rich with pepper and spices, sugarcane or other delicacies are presented, a small part of it is at once handed back to the donor as prasad. And after Maharishi has taken a minute portion, the rest is equally distributed to all. When a personal gift is offered and he is unable to share, it is invariably refused. And he gives it back to the person with the injunction to use it with his benediction. The perfect wisdom we found is also maintained at the ashram. All are allowed to come and go at any time and do whatever they feel like doing. The only strict rule we noticed is that of non-smoking in the hall. There is never the slightest feeling of compulsion, and no attempt is made to impose on the visitors any special religious belief. Those who wish to read Maharishi's books are welcome to do so, but there is no obligation. Some people ask questions, and Maharishi always answers in the most illuminating fashion, sometimes by questioning the questioner. Others prefer to meditate and keep silent, often finding that their mental doubts and personal problems have been solved without the help of spoken words. We have some more to read, but we will read that in the next week. I will finish with a small note in the next paragraph. Know thyself is the fundamental note of Maharishi's teaching. The quest of the self is continually stressed and described as the one essential prerequisite to spiritual attainment. All religions are but various ways leading ultimately to this one point, when the inner personal experience and first-hand knowledge begin to replace blind faith in religious or ethical precepts. And what indeed are books, however sacred and beautiful, when under our very eyes we can look upon one who has realized in himself the highest spiritual state. Undoubtedly, merely to live in his presence is the greatest help that one could possibly receive. It is a fact that no one who comes to the ashram, whether for consolation, spiritual enlightenment, or even out of mere curiosity, goes away empty-handed. Each receives to his utmost capacity, be that capacity great or small, and many people get inner experience which have changed their whole lives. I'll read the last line. Each receives to his utmost capacity, be that capacity great or small, and many people get inner experiences which have changed their whole lives. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. If one has to summarize the teaching of Bhagavan Ramana, it is know thyself, know yourself. And Bhagavan Ramana has given us the path of understanding ourself, which is self-enquiry. We will have a self-enquiry session led by Sri Dilip Simhaji.
Namo Ramana. Dhyayet Sharadachandra Sundaramukam Tambraravindekshanam Bhaktabhishtavarabhayapradakaram Kaupinamatrojjvalam Svatmanandarasanubhuti Sarvanavadhyangakam Shrimantam Shri Ramaneshwaram Guruvaram Yogasanadhyasitam Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Dhyayet Shri Ramaneshwaram Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahmamatram Yahamahmiti Sakshat Atmarupena Bhati Hridi Vishamanasa Swam Chinvata Majjatava Pavana Chalanarodha Atmanishto Bhavatvam. Namo Ramana. We will commence the evening Atma Vicharam by listening to Bhagavan's Upadesham. I'll be reading from the book Guru Vachaka Kovai, from the chapter Meditation on the Truth. The topic is the doings of Jiva and Ishvara. Verse number 668. If it is conceded that all the actions of the Jiva are only Shiva's action, then will the Jiva be different from Shiva? If he exists as the different from Shiva, you should know that all his actions will cease to be Shiva's actions and he will be considered to be an independent agent. I repeat the verse. If it is conceded that all the actions of the Jiva are only Shiva's action, then will the Jiva be different from Shiva? If he exists as different from Shiva, you should know that all his actions will cease to be Shiva's actions, and he will be considered to be an independent agent. Through this verse, Bhagavan is teaching us the surrender. In this state of waking, when one is actually involved in still identified with the body and the mind as a jiva, then that person should surrender, considering everything is nothing but Shiva's action, and therefore let go this jiva bhava. Then alone, all the action done by this body and mind becomes the action of the Shiva. Better yet is becoming one with the self, where there is not even this idea of concept that there is be Jiva or Shiva. There is that nothing but one self. For that, Bhagavan has given us the Atma Vichara, wherein with every rising thought, whether we hold on to a thought that I am a jiva, an individual, or whether I hold on to a thought that everything is Shiva's, both he asks us to inquire to whom is this, because subtly there is still a thinker who is still holding on to either of the thoughts, whether one is Jiva or one is thinking that everything belongs to Shiva. When the thinker becomes available for inquiry, further Bhagavan asks us to inquire, who am I? Because the thinker, we say, is the I who is holding on to both these thoughts. And he further asks us to inquire, who am I? With the very questioning of who am I, when we inquire and trace the thought of the where from the I thought rises, or what do we refer to as I within me, when we trace the I back to the source, then we see the self wherein there is no such differences which has to be dealt, that one is a Jiva or something, there is a Shiva. There is no such difference. There is absolute existence and absolute awareness of it, absolute peace with no differentiation. That is what the quest, who am I, with the grace of Bhagavan brings us to. And Bhagavan says, with repeated practice, the mind will gain enough strength to remain at that absolute source. Then there is no more a thought, whether we can say a positive or a negative thought. We remain in that thought-free state of self, where everything happens automatically. Bhagavan calls it as automatic divine action. With the immense grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path, no matter what kind of thoughts come, whether it is good, bad, ugly, spiritual, we should understand that there is a thinker, the ego, that is still persisting behind it. Therefore, we should diligently inquire, to whom is this thought, recognize it is for me, the thinker, and thereupon inquire, who am I, and trace the I thought back to the source, or what do we refer to as I. And by repeated practice, the mind will gain enough strength to remain in the source. The immense grace of Bhagavan. For the next 10 minutes, let us do Atma Vichara. Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana. Thank you.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang with a sharing by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji on the work Dakshinamurti Stotra.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunattu Sahaviram Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dakshinamurti Sarambha Shankaracharya Madhyama Ramanacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Vande Guru Parampara. Vande Guru Parampara. Ramana. We're doing manana on Dakshinamurti Stotram. Why are we doing manana on this? The first question that most of us have in our mind. God in the form of Guru with form, God in the form of Guru with form takes me to the formless. When I transcend form, I become fearless because I am deathless. Death is of the form only. Because I am deathless. Death is only for the form. So we are doing manana on the Phalastuti. So I request Sapna to kindly chant the Dhyana Sloka as well as the Phalastuti, please.
Yes, sir. मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितः परब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानं वसिष्ठान्ते वसदृषिगणैः आवृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दमूर्तिं स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं दक्षिणामूर्तिमीडे सर्वात्मत्वमिति स्फुटीकृतमिदं यस्माद्मुष्मिंस्तवे तेनास्य श्रवणात् तदर्थमननात् ध्यानात् च सङ्कीर्तनात् सर्वात्मत्वमहाविभूतिसहितं स्यादीश्वरत्वं स्वतः सिद्ध्येतत् पुनरष्टधा परिणतं चैश्वर्यमव्याहतम् सिद्ध्येतत् पुनरष्टधा परिणतं चैश्वर्यमव्याहतम्. Thank you, sir.
Ramana, thank you. I salute Sri Dakshinamurti, the young Guru who teaches the knowledge of Brahman through silence, who is surrounded by disciples who are themselves rishis and scholars in the Vedas. I worship Sri Dakshinamurti, who is a teacher of teachers, whose hand is held in the sign of knowledge, Chinmudra, and whose nature is fullness, and who reveals in himself, and who revels in himself, and who is ever silent. Let's see what the Phalasuti means the knowledge, all this Atman, Sarva Atmatvam, has been explained in this hymn. And so, by hearing it, by reflecting and meditating upon its meaning, and by reciting it, one will attain that divine state endued with the glory of the all selfhood, along with the permanent eightfold holy powers of Godhood. So we did little manana in the last satsang about this. I'll do a little bit of repetition and I'll continue today. Sarvatmatvam, Sarva Atmatvam is very important Vedic terminology. Atma is self. Sarva Atmatvam means the self of all. In this hymn, this state of being the self of all is thus made very clear, because it is made clear by this hymn through Shravana, Manana, Dhyana and Sankirtana, one can gain Sarvatmatvam. The whole teaching of Vedanta is present in this Sri Dakshinamurti hymn, because ultimate teaching of Vedanta is Tattvamasi. You are Tattvamasi, that is present in almost every verse. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana are spiritual practices that are extremely important to realize this Vedantic teaching. So we did Manana on Shravana. What does Shravana mean? It actually means to use these teachings that you hear for the sake of discovering the truth of yourself. It means to use these teachings to guide your own process of self-inquiry. Manana, in general, meditation is about putting your mind into a particular state or condition. It is intellectual inquiry for the very specific reason. What is Nididhyasana? Means contemplation. The purpose of contemplation is to address a gap between what we understood and how we behave. It is the process of seeing the truth over and over again to remove the wrong way of thinking. It is a process of assimilation. So Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana are absolutely necessary practices in spiritual growth. Merely studying this hymn without these spiritual practices might not be useful. In fact, all the Vedanta might become useless without Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. The other thing that Bhagavan talks about is Sankirtana. It is important to recite the hymn. Sankirtana also means teaching. Some people might learn it thoroughly and would teach others. However, teaching is optional, but reciting for your own spiritual growth is important. By doing this, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and Sankirtana, what would you get? Sarvatmatvam means Brahman, being the truth of all. It is revealed clearly in this hymn that if you practice Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana, you gain Sarvatmatvam. Because Sarvatmatvam revealed in this hymn, together with your efforts of Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana, would come. What would come is you discover your own state of being Ishvara. So this Atvatvam is very misunderstood concept. This I am God is horribly misunderstood statement. This is terribly mistaken interpretation of Advaita, Vedanta. If statement like this, your own godliness, is not understood correctly, people make mistake of incorrect interpretation. Let us understand this statement in its true sense. The reality because of which you, the Jiva, exists, and the reality because of which Ishvara exists, and the reality because of which everything else exists, is the same reality. Nothing is separate. So Ishwaratvatvam here reveals that you are not separate from Ishvara in the fundamental sense. You are still a human being. Ishvara as an individual being has certain powers but limited. Brahman as Ishvara Upadhi, as a creator, sustainer and destroyer of the universe, takes on certain capacity. Same Brahman as Jiva Upadhi, as an individual with individual body and mind, takes on different set of qualities and capacity. For example, clay is used for a very tiny pot or a very big pot. The tiny pot is Jiva Upadhi. The mammoth, humongous pot is Ishwar Upadhi. But it is the same clay as underlying reality. The difference is only in Upadhi, because Upadhi has different qualities. So, going back to the statement, with your efforts of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, you can discover your non-separation from Ishvara. The reason is you share the same underlying reality, that is Brahman. The consciousness that you are is the same consciousness because of which the universe exists. Then again, this teaching creates eightfold blessings and lordship without any impediment. The eightfold blessings here refers to eightfold powers, Ashtasiddhis. There are many yogic texts. Those talk about Ashtasiddhi, 8 spiritual powers as follows. Anima, an ability to shrink infinitely small. Mahima, ability to expand infinitely large. Garima, capacity to become extraordinary heavy. Lagima, power to become incredibly light. Prapti, ability of translocation, instantly appear wherever you want. Prakamya, ability to fulfill your desire just by wanting to be so. Ishitva, sovereignty, ability to be utterly free, so no one has control over you. And Vashishtva, ability to have control over everyone else. What these Ashta Siddhis has to do with Advaita Vedanta? Nothing. I'll read that again. What these Ashta Siddhis has to do with Advaita, non-dual Vedanta, is nothing. If you are Sarvatma, you don't need these powers, Siddhis. If you know I am Brahman, I am full, I am limitless, I am complete, then there's no use of having these powers. It's like a multi-billionaire person winning a lottery. If the person is already one of the richest persons on the earth, and if he adds a few thousands to his possession, it does not make any difference. If you know yourself to be Sarvatma, these powers do not add any value to you. Then why is this discussion included here at the very end of this text? This Phalasuti, it is absolutely added to the text later. It is not written by the original author, Adi Shankaracharya. If a person is enlightened, he or she does not need to study this text. Those who are going to study this hymn are those who want enlightenment, those who are still struggling with worldly affairs, and who are those who are still living in the world and struggling to cope up with the challenges of life. But when we recognize no matter how powerful we become in worldly life, we are still not going to be happy and content. There would still be problems. These would still be sense of lack. No matter how many powers you gain, you would still be incomplete. Then what is the point in gaining Ashtasiddhis? The Phalashruti is advertising the hymn. At the end of many hymns, there is Phalashruti. It declares some kind of worldly gains. If the hymn is chanted for a certain number of times, there is something hidden in the advertising. It is a bait and switch. It is an advertising strategy where advertisers hold up something appealing to you, but what you get eventually is something totally different. Suppose I am a very worldly person and I pick up the Dakshinamurti Stotra. I read through all Dakshinamurti, is this and that, and I'm thinking what all this means to me. This is all boring. Then I get to the last part of the talk about Ashtasiddhi. That seems interesting to me. I didn't get all of the Dakshinamurti stuff, but I like the powers. It is a bait and switch in a positive way. It lures materialists in a worldly manner and then redirects their attention to the spiritual truth. So at the very end of the hymn, Phalashruti says, if you study this Dakshinamurti Stotra, you will get these 8 powers. Suppose you start studying the Stotra and you study it properly with the teacher through your efforts of Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. After a long period of time, you may discover that you don't have these 8 powers, but you have something infinitely more valuable, that is Sarvatmatvam. So it is a bait and switch in a very positive way. All Phalashrutis are really like that. Phalashruti uses a worldly approach to draw you in, but then the very content of the hymn will redirect you to a higher goal. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That is whole. This is whole. From that hole, this whole came. From that hole, this hole removed. What is whole? Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Dakshinamurti, who was the compassionate Shiva, came in the form of the silent Guru and gave the Upadesha in silence. But he is the embodiment of compassion. He understood that his silence may not be communicating to various other seekers who are so used to words. So that very silence embodied itself as words and is available to us as the Dakshinamurti Stotram and the other works, which are available for each one of us to do Parayanam, do Manana on the meaning of it and practice it, and also to do Sankirtana, to sing and dance. One of such works, which has been translated to Tamil by Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, is the Devika Lotram Jnana Vichara Padalam. We have the sharing on the insights by Dr. Kalarani Rangaswamy as the next part of the satsang.
You have to unmute, Ma. Ujjwal,
Yes.
yeah. Somebody has to unmute the presentation.
ஓம் நமோ பகவதே ஸ்ரீ ரமணாய. அருணாச்சலமென அகமே நினைப்பவர் அகத்தை வேறறுப்பாய் அருணாச்சலம். Namo Ramana to all. With the abundance grace of Bhagavan, we are meditating on Devika-Lotram Jnana Vichara Padalam, very kindly given to us by Bhagavan in Tamil. And in the last satsang, we learned among the 5 elements of the world, fire, earth, air, water, and and space, space is present in the other four elements. Even though it is very much there in those four elements, it is not affected by the nature of those elements. Likewise, the self, the Paravastu, God, by whatever name we may call, is present in every object. எல்லா பூத இளைய உண்டாகி இவற்று எவ்வெவ்வின்னும் விமலே புல அவ்வ உருவம் யாபித்தும் நூல் மனம் இல். Though the Paravastu is present in each and every object, it does not take the characteristics of that object. It does not get affected by those objects' nature. So Bhagavan says, do dhyana of that object which does not change. Poruvil tannai dhyanam kuri. In the next stanza, Bhagavan says, Salanam urum vayu samam chittam. Endrum சலனமர செய் சாதனம் எதுதான் அதுவே சலனம் அடைந்ததன் பேராம். அதுதானே பாண்டித்யம் ஆகும். It is believed with great prayatna we got this human form. Manikavasakar in Tiruvasakam says, O Ishvara, I have taken so many births. Pullai, Pudai, Pulvai, Maramai, Palvirumai, Paravayai, Kambai, Kallai, Manidar. Right from a small grass, I have traveled taking births and deaths, like a small insect, bird, animal, human, muni, deva. இத்தாவர சங்கமத்துள் எல்லா பிறப்பும் பிறந்தெழுத்தேன். Enough now, this human form. Bhagavan says, one must understand the main aim of giving us this human form. Because in Tiruvashakam it is said, Mada udal salitta. பல்வினையேன் கால் செலுத்தேன் வேதாவும் கை செலுத்து விட்டானே. Mother gets vexed by giving birth to you again and again. பல்வினையேன் கை செலுத்தேன். பல்வினையேன் means Yama. Yama's hand is also paining by dragging you again and again when you die. Above all, Veda, Brahma, கை செலுத்து விட்டானே. Brahma, who is the responsible for writing your fate, got fed up writing your fate again and again, repeatedly. So he left writing for you. So many births you are taking without understanding for what you are born. So in this stanza, Bhagavan helps us to know for what we are given this human form. When scriptures speak about Siddha, the mind says, mind oscillates more than Vayu or a monkey. The thinking speed of mind is said Vayu Vega as Mano Vega, and the Pancha Indriyas are compared with horsepower. The nature of the mind is to think always, think about something. It cannot remain calm at all. When we get a mild headache, we don't take it simply. So many thoughts come in. Why this headache? Will it be due to indigestion or high sugar level, or I have some problem in my eyes? We ourselves become a doctor and start diagnosing. It means to me the headache, in the meantime, the headache vanishes. The mind says this person is good and that person is not so much good. He talks too much because we expect others to listen to us and not ready to listen to others what they are saying. Once there was a villager and he was in need of 1,000 rupees for starting a very small business, and he came to know only God can give him that money. So he decided to write a letter to God and wrote a requesting letter and requested him to give him rupees 1,000. Then he got a doubt, which is the address, for which address I should post this. Then he got an idea. Our postmaster knows the address of all, so he wrote God, care of postmaster, head post office of that village. When the postmaster received the letter, he took pity on that person and collected money from his staff members, and he also contributed some money, and totally it came to 900 rupees only. It's okay, he sent the money to that person. The villager was very happy and now wrote a letter to God saying, On seeing this, the postmaster was confused whether to laugh or cry. The villager wrote, "Thank you, God. Thank you so much for responding to my request. But hereafter, don't send the money through this postmaster because he has taken 100 rupees from the 1,000 that you have sent." Imagine how the postmaster's mind will react. Such is the nature of the mind. Bhagavan says, try to be calm down. Such an oscillating mind is not good. In previous stanza, Bhagavan taught us, Nindral veli asaindal vali. Then the air is calm and merges with the space. It is space alone. But when it is in movement, when it moves, it becomes a wind. The degree of its movement makes us call it as a wind, storm, cyclone, tornado, etc. Likewise, Siddham Siridu Asaya Samsara. It is not that one should have a family to become a samsari. Even the oscillation of the mind, thought, wandering nature of the mind will make one a samsari, and that will bring sorrow only. So Bhagavan says, by any upaya, by any method, see that the oscillating mind becomes calm. The only way to make the mind calm is to direct the mind to its source, from where it originates. Uditta idathil, udingi iruttal, adu kanmamum bhaktiyum undi para, adu yogamum jnanamum undi para. Find the source and abide there. Bhagavan says in this stanza, Adive sananam adendadan peram. That is the purpose of taking this human form. Moreover, he says, Adudane pahandityamum avum. Only that can make a person as a pandit. Any amount of learning is not going to serve the purpose. Learning is needed for certain extent only. But while doing sadhana, Bhagavan says, unlearning will be useful. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
We're into it. We are into mobile development,
microservices architecture,
Namo Ramana. In this part of the Satsang, we have been meditating on the verses written in adoration to Ramana by Ganapati Muni. It has been titled Ramanacentre by Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi himself. And we are meditating on the 18th verse, where Ganapati Muni says, Dharme nashamupagate tribhuvane paryakule papataha prajnane parito giram patimuda sancharyamane janaihi sadbhave parameshwarasya cha pitu sandehadolangate द्वीपकैतवमर्त्यकेकितुरग त्वामन्तराकाशतां रमणाय लोकगुरवे नमः रमणाय लोकगुरवे नमः धर्मनाशवागुतिदे त्रिलोकवुमरुळागिदे पापदी ನಿಜ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಅರಿಯದ ಜನರು ಎಲ್ಲೆಡೆ ತೊಡಗಿಹರು ವಾಗ್ವಾದದಿ ಸದಾ ಪೊರೆವ ತಂದೆ ಪರಮೇಶನೇ ಇರುವೆ ಸಂದೇಹಿಸಲ್ಪಡುತ್ತಿದೆ ರಕ್ಷೆ ನೀನೆ ನರವೇಶಿನ ವಿಲುವಾಹನನೆ ನೀನಲ್ಲದೆ ಹಿತರಾರೆ ಮಗೆ ರಮಣನಿಗೆ ಲೋಕ ಗುರುವಿಗೆ ನಮನ ರಮಣನಿಗೆ ಲೋಕ ಗುರುವಿಗೆ ನಮನ. Ganapati Muni says, O Ramana, you are the Dvipa in this ocean of samsara. You are the only island where we can take rest, where we are not subjected to the waves and the movement of the samsara. It is only your feet that we can hold to. So I request you to please come down as the Vishwa Guru, as the Loka Guru in the human form. I know you are that Subramanya who rides on the peacock. Come in the human form and show your compassion as the Loka Guru. This is the right time for you to come, because I see that the people are not understanding what is dharma, and they are in dharma sankata, and they are in confusion. They don't know what to do. It is the right time for you to come and show them the path. And it is also the right time because they think that mere words are the sign of jnana. They are not able to understand the true greatness of jnana, which can only be explained in mauna. And they are even questioning the existence of that Supreme Father who is taking care of the whole universe. So this is the right time for you to appear as the world teacher. Talking about Dharma Sankata, recently we saw a performance by the special artists of Rasa, Ramanacentre Bengaluru at Chennai, where a scene of Dharma Sankata was shown and how the grace manifests and the confusion is converted into clarity only through the grace. And in that, we had the story of a great king, a great sadhu whose name was Satyavrata. He had this vrata that he will only speak truth and nothing else other than the truth. And he was meditating near his cottage in the forest, and there was a king who was hunting, and he was following a deer, and this deer flew, it ran in front of that sadhu Satyavrata, and it hid in a small bush nearby. And Satyavrata, who was meditating, could see the movement of the deer and the deer going and hiding behind that bush. But when the king appeared, the king demanded, "O sadhu, I know your name is Satyavrata and you have this vow that you will only speak the truth. So you have to tell me, where did this deer go? If you don't tell me the truth, then you would have gone away from the vrata that you have taken for yourself." And so saying, he demanded that the Satyavrata should tell him where the deer had gone. And at that moment, the Satyavrata sadhu was in a conflict. He was in the Dharma Sankata. He did not know what to do, because if he spoke the truth that the deer was hiding in near that bush, then the deer would lose its life. That is also not sadhu dharma. But if he did not tell the truth, then he would be moving away from his own vow of telling the truth. So he was in that dharma sankata. At that moment, the grace manifested and his mind became clear, and he spoke to the king and he said, "The eyes sees, but it cannot speak. And the mouth did not see, but it can speak. So why are you asking that which sees? You're not telling that which sees to tell the truth, and you are telling something which does not see to tell the truth. How is it possible?" And the king was astonished. Yes, that is the truth. The eye sees, it cannot speak. And the mouth speaks, but it cannot see. So it is a wrong question I have been asking this sadhu. So he saluted to that sadhu and moved away. In this way, the Satyavrata had told the greatest of truth, and also he had protected that little creature, the deer. And continuing the story, we had one more conflict by a great devotee of Ramana, who was none other than Vishwanatha Swami. Vishwanatha Swami, as a college-going boy, was inspired by the freedom struggle. And in that struggle that he was doing during his college days, he was imprisoned. And his father, he wanted him to clear his exams, which was coming up. And so he went and requested the British officers to please give him a bail so that he can finish his exams and he can be a graduate. And after coming out from the jail, he wrote his exams, but there was a great yearning within him. And the yearning was, should I work towards the freedom of our country, join the freedom movement, or should I go to Ramana and find the true freedom, the freedom of the self? This conflict he had, and he approached Ramana. When he approached Ramana, Ramana gave him the book Ramana Gita, and he told this book will be apt for him to be taken to his father, who was interested in spiritual subject. So, but he did not take it to his father, but he read it completely. Vishwanatha read it, and this transformed his life. He understood the Dharma Sankata was cleared. He understood what was the paramount duty of a human being, which is told in the Gita. Paramount duty is to know yourself. So he decided that he has to come and surrender to Ramana and take him as his guru and lead a life of austerity, of sadhana, to understand the true freedom. So he came to Ramana and he fell at his feet. And then Ramana quickly asked, yes, you can surely stay here, but have you informed your parents that you are staying here? Vishwanatha told, no, I have not informed. So Ramana told, quickly write a letter to your father saying that you are here. And he wrote a letter saying that he is there in the presence of Ramana, and the family was freed from the worry that where the Vishwanatha had gone. And Vishwanatha could chant the verses from Vedas and Upanishads. And Ramana commented, oh Vishwanatha, you know so many things, you know so much of Vedas and Upanishads. I was unaware of any of these, but at that moment, when I was just of age 16, I was gripped by this fear of death. And this drew my mind within, and I understood that what dies is only the body, and I am the deathless spirit. And I had the experience of that supreme truth, which I only came to know later by studying the Vedas and other spiritual books, that this was the experience of Brahman that I only got to know later. So this says that the jnana, the true jnana, need not be attained only by reading the Vedas and Upanishads, but it can come to anyone, and that true knowledge manifests itself as silence and not through the pomp and the show of the words and the vada debate. This was told to Vishwanatha subtly, and Ramana asked, what is the sadhana that you are doing, Vishwanatha? And Vishwanatha Swami told, I chant the Gayatri mantra. And Ramana told, yes, that is the greatest of all the mantras. Chant it continuously without any break. And Ramana showed him a special cave on the slope of Arunachala, from where one could see the peak of Arunachala, but nobody else could find out the presence of that person. That place is very, very apt for sadhana. So you go there and chant the Gayatri mantra continuously. I will come and see what you are doing, said Ramana. And similarly, Ramana used to go and see whether the sadhana was happening properly. When Vishwanatha Swami asked, Ramana, Bhagavan, you had told that you will come and see me doing the sadhana. And Ramana told, yes, I had come. And I saw that you are immersed in sadhana, so I did not disturb. And later, when his father wrote to Ramana saying that I am going to come and see what Vishwanatha is doing, and I'm going to take Vishwanatha back home. And he had sent a letter, and Ramana assured Vishwanatha, you don't speak anything. You just be there, and I will talk to your father and convince him. Such was the love of Ramana that he supports the sadhana and he makes every circumstances apt for us to continue the sadhana. And when his father came, his father saw that Vishwanatha was in the company of a great jnani, and then he bowed to Ramana and told, I will allow Vishwanatha to stay here if Bhagavan takes complete responsibility of his spiritual sadhana. And Ramana assured, yes, that will be taken care. In that way, Ramana took care of the sadhana of Vishwanatha Swami, and Vishwanatha Swami reveled in that presence of Ramana, the physical form of Ramana too, and also the Ramana who is the self. Ramana is the Vishwaguru who is in the beginning of any sadhana, and he is the one who sustains the sadhana too, and he is also the one who gives completion to our sadhana and gives the supreme knowledge, supreme jnana. That's why while we are praising the Guru is told Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Ramana, who is the Guru, he sows the seed of jnana. And he is the one who takes care of that seed and he nurtures that seed through sadhana and he takes care of the disciple and he is the one who bestows us with the jnana. Oh Guru Ramana, it is time for you to come and do this to every seeker of truth, was the prayer of Ganapati Muni, and Ramana came in the human form and blessed the whole world as the Vishwaguru. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. We continue the satsang with the meditation on the namas, the Ramana Ashtottara written by Vishwanatha Swami on Bhagavan Ramana. This will be done by Dr. Sharda.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, who shines as a self in all beings. We are blessed today to continue the Manana meditations on the Ramana Ashtottara, and we have been meditating on this Ramana Ashtottara composed by Vishwanatha Swami. We are on the Nama Pitrapadhan Veshine Namaha. Pitrapadhan Veshine Namaha. One who has set out in search of the father's feet or the father's state. Pitrapada. It is not Pitra Anveshine Namaha. It is Pitrapada Anveshine Namaha. Now the feet of the Guru, the feet of the Lord are given great significance by all the great ones, the scriptures, and we know that Shiva Prakasham Pillai has composed Padamalai on Bhagavan in gratitude for giving him the path of self-inquiry. He has composed a verse called Ramana Padamalai. Muruganar Swami has also composed Ramana Padamalai. So the feet, if we see the pictures of cow Lakshmi, many of the pictures, she will be prostrating to the feet of Bhagavan by bending her head low to that. It's very beautiful sequences there, even in the archival film of Bhagwan, where Lakshmi is coming towards him. And even as Bhagwan sees her coming towards him, he lifts his hand to stroke her head like this. And even as he is lifting her hand, she has already started bending towards his feet. So he also has to bend down and go towards her. So that's so spontaneously the feet of the master, the feet of the guru, the feet of the Lord, and these are described always as lotus feet. They are so soft, they are so beautiful, so gentle, and these are the feet of Arunachala, which were drawing Bhagavan towards themselves. Or we can say the pada is also the state. So the state of Arunachala, which Bhagavan says in Arunachala Ashtakam, he says, I did not know who you were, though I knew of your greatness, your glory, ever since, even before I knew anything else. So I knew. That is what is said is, he says, Arivaru Sirivayadadu Mudal Arunachalam Miha Peridu. Arunachala is something extraordinary, great, glorious, that is known to me even before I knew anything else. Although I did it, I did not know, although this glory was shining in my heart, I did not know what was the true import of Arunachala. And then அது திருவண்ணாமலை என ஒருவரால் அறிவுறப் பெற்றும். Even though I heard it is Tiruvannamalai, it is a place on earth, still did not know what it truly means. Then what did it do? அறிவினை மருளுறுத்து அருகினில் ஈர்க்க. Arunachala actually captured my mind, my arivu, the power which knows something. It captured that and it mesmerized my arivu. It mesmerized my knowing mind, the mind which keeps saying, I know this, I know that, I know this, I know that. It mesmerized that mind and it drew my mind, drew me near itself. மருளுறுத்து அருகினில் ஈர்க்க அருகுரும் மமயம் இது அச்சலமா கண்டேன். I saw then that this is achala, this is pure stillness. I realized at that point of time, says Bhagavan. So that is the padam to which Bhagavan Arunachala drew me, says Bhagavan. And in another verse, in the Arunachala Navamanimalai, Bhagavan says, Tan padam yenakku tandanam. He gave me his state, he gave me his own state, Tan padam. Why did he give that? Shadika chinmayam, Shadika tanmayam. For the state of self-awareness. Shivakka chinmayam, Shadika tanmayam. For the consciousness to just glow everywhere, radiate everywhere. And for the awareness of the existence to be powerful. Powerful, he gave me his own state. Tan padam yanakku tandanan. So that is the state to which Arunachala drew me, says Bhagavan. So now Arunachala is drawing this young boy, 16-year-old boy, is being drawn to Arunachala, is being pulled there as if taken in a great flood, in a great current, by a great force, as if there is a small straw which is just being pulled towards some destination by the force of the great flood, says Bhagavan. And that force has made Bhagavan leave the home. The young boy, having written a note and spoken that he is going on a virtuous enterprise. He is going on something good, nalla karyam, on a good venture. He has entered a good venture. He is gone for something good. Of course, Bhagavan does not say, but it is for the good of the entire universe for all times to come. What further can be asked for? நல்ல காரியத்தில் பிரவேசித்திருக்கிறது. It has left, this has entered or started off on a good enterprise. Good enterprise. So this has been, he has written this note and he has come and he has managed to catch the train. He is on the train to Tindivanam, to which he took the ticket, because he did not realize that Tiruvannamalai was directly connected by rail. He had looked at an old atlas. He did not know that Tiruvannamalai can be directly reached. Very often our sadhana is also like that. Though Bhagavan tells us, those the scriptures tell us, as Bhagavan says in Ulladu Narpadu, he says, அது நீ என் ரம்மறைகள் ஆர்த்திடவும் தன்னை தேர்ந்திராது. Although the scriptures are declaring that you yourself are that, Tattvamasi, you yourself are that. How much further do we have to go to search for the self when we ourselves are there? That. It's our own very nature. The highest truth is our own. But it's not easy for us to accept that or to understand that the self is directly available to us. We believe that the self can be attained only on making a lot of rigorous practice, on sadhana, on tapasya. After all that, it has to be gained. Bhagavan gives a story. He says there was a farmer who prayed to God that please give me the Chintamani. The Chintamani is that celestial gem which is a wish-fulfilling gem. Chintamani. It gives whatever one thinks, so much as thinks of. Chinta. The moment one thinks of something, it will be fulfilled, it will be granted. There is in the mythology, we hear of the Chintamani, the Kalpataru, and the Kamadhenu. So the Kalpataru is the wish-fulfilling tree, the Chintamani is the wish-fulfilling gem, and the Kamadhenu is the wish-fulfilling cow. Now the farmer has asked for the Chintamani, and God, seeing the farmer's simplicity and devotion, allowed the Chintamani to be placed before him. As soon as the farmer went out of the house, right in front of him on his path was the Chintamani, very much visible to him. But he thought, this cannot be the Chintamani, it cannot be so easily available. So he did a lot of penance, and after that, whatever piece of glass he saw in front of him, he decided this must be the Chintamani which is come in answer to my penance. So to understand something which is direct is not easy. The mind does not accept. It always takes the more difficult path, the more complicated path, maybe to show us this way of the mind, of the human mind. This yatra of Bhagavan, the sacred pilgrimage, was taking a rather difficult path. He had not bought a ticket directly to Tiruvannamalai. He had bought a ticket to Tindivanam. However, Arunachala informed him through a Maulvi that there is a railway track There are trains going to Tiruvannamalai. They can be taken. One needs to change at Virupuram. Sorry. Yes, at Virupuram, one has to change. One has to get down at Virupuram and take the train to Tiruvannamalai. This information had been given by a Moolvi to Bhagavan, and he got down at Virupuram and he was hungry. After all, he had eaten only something real, the real meal had been eaten around 12 noon. Even before that, little before that perhaps. And after that, all he had was one fruit or a part of a fruit which he has bought for himself. He is a young, robust young man who was used to having a good meal, good food given to him from time to time, at least twice a day. So he was hungry, very naturally hungry. And he also didn't know anything. He has never been out of his home on his own. And this time he has ventured out all by himself. So it seems he was just wandering a bit on the streets of Virupuram. Then he came across a little eatery, a hotel, and which happened to be open maybe early morning. And he sat down in that hotel. Now the food for the day had not been prepared. So the hotel keeper asked him to wait. So he was there, sitting there, waiting for the food to come. Of course, lost in the self. Often what happens is whatever the effort that one is making on the journey. See, we have many times we feel hungry, isn't it? On the way, we feel hungry. We want some experience. We want some sign from Bhagavan. So we feel hungry. Is it okay? Am I doing right? I'm hungry for something. I'm hungry for the sign of grace from you. But then sometimes one has to wait also. One has to wait for that sign to come. Similarly, Bhagavan had to wait. He had to wait for the food to come. But what a blessed place that must have been that received this young boy who was actually going towards Arunachala to bless the entire universe with his own state of steady self-abidance. Such a one on that day had been received by this small little hotel. So we first think of the blessedness of the hotel itself. And then, of course, the hotel keeper is also blessed. Because what did he do? After the young boy took his meal, Bhagavan kept whatever little change he was still having in his pocket, he placed it on the table. This is what it is. But the hotel keeper said, you can keep it with you. You don't need to give me anything for today's meal. That was the compulsion. That must have been the radiance coming from Bhagavan was so great that he felt it is a blessing to feed this young boy. He did not know that he was really feeding the one who is going for the very Karana for which he was born, Karana of blessing the entire universe and enveloping it in his gracious presence. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri.
We come to the last part of the satsang. We have the chanting of a few verses from Arunachala Aksharamamalai by Srimati V. Radha and Vallabh. This will be followed by the Ashtottara Puja to Bhagavan by Dilip Simha sir at his altar. The chanting of the Ashtottara will be done by Vaibhavji and Prarthana, followed by Ujjwal Jagadish, and the Aarti song to Bhagavan. You have the Arunachala Aksharamamalai.
अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल அருணாச்சலமென அகமே நினைப்பவர் அகத்தை வேறறுப்பாய் அருணாச்சலா அழகு சுந்தரம் போல் அகமும் நீயும் முற்று அபிநமாயிருப்போம் அருணாச்சலா அகம்போகும் தீர்த்துன் அககுகை சிறையாய் அமர்வித்ததென் கொல் அருணாச்சலா ஆரேக்காவென்னை ஆண்டனை அகற்றிடில் அகிலம் பழித்திடும் அருணாச்சலாம் இப்பழி தப்புனையே நினைப்பித்தாயினி யார் விடுவார் அருணாச்சலாம் ஈன்றிடும் மன்னையிற் பெரிதருள் புரிவோய் இதுவோ உனதருள் அருணாச்சலாம் உனையே மாற்றி ஓடாதுள்ளத்தின் மேல் உறுதிய இருப்பாய் அருணாச்சல ஊர் சுற்றுளம் விடாதுன்னை கண்டடங்கிட உன்னழகை காட்டருணாச்சலா என்னை அழித்தி போதென்னை கலவாவிடில் இதுவோ ஆண்மை அருணாச்சலா ஏன் இந்த உறக்கம் என்னை பிறர் இழுக்க இது உனக்கழகோ அருணாச்சலாம் ஐம்புல கழ்வர் அகத்தினில் புகும்போது அகத்தில் நீ இல்லையோ அருணாச்சலாம் ஒருவனாம் உன்னை ஒளித்தவர் வருவார் உன் சூதே இது அருணாச்சலாம் அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா 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 அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணம் மாலை வாழி நமோ ரமண.
नमो रमण. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं स्वाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि. ॐ महासेन महोंशेन जाताय नमः. ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः. ॐ गुरवे नमः. ॐ अखण्ड संविदाकाराय नमः. ॐ महौजसे नमः. ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः. ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः. ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः. ॐ पराशरपुरोत्तंसाय नमः. ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः. ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः. ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः. ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः. ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः. ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थलैलब्धविद्योदयाय नमः. ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशकश्रवणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासुधासुश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ जूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिकाखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणाभिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजतचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः।
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसाराधिग्रन्थसञ्छिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानामाराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविदायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ हृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ हार्द्रविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकोपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्थ्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या च निप्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीर नित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नमैदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पृष्ठ परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಹೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
Jai.